Palermo, Sicilian. Palermo, Latin. Panormus from Greek. Pi alpha nu omicron rho mu omicron sigma. Panormos, Arabic. Bilam, Phoenician. Ziz is a city in insular Italy, the capital of both the autonomous region of Sicily and the province of Palermo. The city is noted for its history, culture, architecture and gastronomy. Playing an important role throughout much of its existence, it is over 2,700 years old. Palermo is located in the northwest of the island of Sicily, right by the Gulf of Palermo in the Tyrrhenian Sea. The city was founded in 734 BC by the Phoenicians as Ziz. Palermo then became a possession of Carthage, before becoming part of the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, and eventually part of the Byzantine Empire, for over 1,000 years. The Greeks named the city Panormus, meaning complete port. From 831 to 1072 the city was under Arab rule during the Emirate of Sicily when the city first became a capital. The Arabs shifted the Greek name into Bilam, the root for Palermo's present-day name. Following the Norman reconquest, Palermo became the capital of a new kingdom, the Kingdom of Sicily, and the capital of the Holy Roman Empire under Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor, and Conrad IV of Germany, King of the Romans. Eventually Sicily would be united with the Kingdom of Naples to form the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies until the Italian unification of 1860. The population of Palermo urban area is estimated by Eurostat to be 855,285, while its metropolitan area is the fifth most populated in Italy with around 1.2 million people. In the central area, the city has a population of around 676,000 people. The inhabitants are known as Palermitans or, poetically, Panormiti. The languages spoken by its inhabitants are the Italian language and the Sicilian language, in its Palermitan variation. Palermo is Sicily's cultural, economic and touristic capital. It is a city rich in history, culture, art, music and food. Numerous tourists are attracted to the city for its good Mediterranean weather, its renowned gastronomy and restaurants, its Romanesque, Gothic and Baroque churches, palaces and buildings, and its nightlife and music. Palermo is the main Sicilian industrial and commercial center. The main industrial sectors include tourism, services, commerce and agriculture. Palermo currently has an international airport, and a significant underground economy. In fact, for cultural, artistic and economic reasons, Palermo was one of the largest cities in the Mediterranean and is now among the top tourist destinations in both Italy and Europe. The city is also going through careful redevelopment, preparing to become one of the major cities of the Euro-Mediterranean area. Roman Catholicism is highly important in Palermitan culture. There are 4 patron saints of the city: Saint Agata, Saint Oliva, Saint Benedict the Moor, and the most famous and celebrated internationally Saint Rosalia. Saint Rosalia's feast day on July 15 is perhaps the biggest social event in the city. The area attracts significant numbers of tourists each year and is widely known for its colorful fruit, vegetable and fish market at the heart of Palermo, known as the Viceria territory. Palermo lies in a basin, formed by the rivers Papareto, Camonia and Oreto. The basin was named during the 9th century Conquistador by the Arabs. It is surrounded by a mountain range whose mounts are called Palermo's Mounts after the city's name itself. These mountains faces the Tyrrhenian Sea. Throughout the history, many populations decided to conquer the city because of the shape of the gulf where the city lies. That makes it a natural port, and because of the view of the sea one could have from atop the mountains, especially from above Monte Pellegrino. Orography: the mountains behind the city are mostly made of calcar. The shape of the range modeled the evolution of the urbanization in recent decades. Indeed, some districts of the city are divided by the mounts themselves. The mountains close the basin, making the city naturally fortified. In past years, in fact, it was relatively difficult to reach the inner part of the island. The tallest peak of the range is La Pisatard, about 1,333 meters. However, historically, the most important mount of the range is Monte Pellegrino, which is geographically separated by the actual body of the range from a plain. The mount lies right in front of the Tyrrhenian Sea. Monte Pellegrino's cliff was defined in the 19th century by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the most beautiful promontory in the world, in his essay, Italian Journey. Hydrography. Today both the Papareto River and the Camonia are covered by the buildings erected during history. However, the shape of the former watercourses can be noticed still today, because the streets that were built upon them follow their shapes. Today the only waterway not drained yet is the Oreto River, that divides the downtown of the city from the western uptown and the industrial districts. In the basins there were, though, many seasonal torrents that helped forming swampy plains, reclaimed during history. An example is the Burro Mondello. History. Ancient era evidence of human settlement in the area now known as Palermo goes back at least to the Mesolithic period, perhaps around 8000 BC, when a group of cave drawings at nearby Adaura represent a new level in the representation of the human figure. According to Thucydides, the Sicani people arrived from the Iberian Peninsula. Phoenicians. During 734 BC, the Phoenicians, a sea trading people from the north of ancient Canaan, built a small settlement on the natural harbor of Palermo. Some sources suggest they named the settlement Ziz. It became one of the three main Phoenician colonies of Sicily, along with Motia and Solentum. However, the remains of the Phoenician presence in the city are few and mostly preserved in the very populated center of the downtown area, making any excavation efforts costly and logistically difficult. The site chosen by the Phoenicians made it easy to connect the port to the mountains with a straight road that today has become Corso Caleti Fiume. This road helped the Phoenicians in trading with the populations that lived beyond the mountains that surround the Gulf. The first settlement is defined as Palliapolis, the ancient Greek word for Old City, in order to distinguish it from a second settlement built during the 5th century BC, called Neapolis, New City. The Neapolis was erected toward east, and along with it were built monumental walls around the whole settlement to prevent foreign threats attacks. Some part of this structure can still be seen in the Cassaro district. This district was named after the walls themselves. The word Cassaro derives, indeed, from the Arab al-Qsr. Along the walls there were few doors to access and exit the city, proving that the trades even towards the inner part of the island occurred frequently. Moreover, according to some studies, it may be possible that there were some walls that divided the old city from the new one too. For what concerns the urban evolution, the colony developed around a central street, cut perpendicularly by minor streets. This street never got disused, and today it has become Corso Vittorio Emanuele. Carthage was Palermo's major trading partner under the Phoenicians, and the city enjoyed a prolonged peace during this period. Palermo came into contact with Greek culture between the 6th and the 5th centuries BC, which were followed by the Sicilian Wars, a conflict fought between the Greeks of Syracuse and the Phoenicians of Carthage for control over the island of Sicily. During this war the Greeks named the settlement Panormos, from which the current name is derived, meaning or port, due to the shape of its coast. The conflict was documented by the ancient Greek author Diodorus Siculus, giving a contemporary description of Palermo's port during the war. It was from Palermo that Hamilcar I's fleet was launched. Again, Diodorus recounts that in 409 BC, the city was looted by Hermocrates of Syracuse. The Sicilian Wars ended in 265 BC, when Carthage and Syracuse reconciled in order to stop the Romans from gaining full control of the island during the First Punic War. In 276 BC, during the Pyrrhic War, Panormos briefly became a Greek colony after being conquered by Pyrrhus of Epirus. but returned to Phoenician Carthage in 275. In 254 BC, Panormus was besieged and conquered by the Romans in the First Battle of Panormus. Carthage attempted to reconquer Panormus in 251 BC, but failed. Middle Ages. As the Roman Empire was falling apart, Palermo fell under the control of several Germanic tribes. The first were the Vandals in 440 AD under the rule of their king Gaiseric. The Vandals had occupied all the Roman provinces in North Africa by 455, establishing themselves as a significant force. They acquired Corsica, Sardinia and Sicily shortly afterwards. However, they soon lost these newly acquired possessions to the Ostrogoths. The Ostrogothic conquest under Theodoric the Great began in 488. Although the Goths were Germanic, Theodoric supported Roman culture and government instead. The Gothic War took place between the Ostrogoths and the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire. Sicily was the first part of Italy to be taken under control of General Belisarius, who was commissioned by Eastern Emperor Justinian I, who solidified his rule in the following years. After the Byzantines were betrayed by Admiral Euphemius, who fled to Tunisia and begged the Ighlebid leader Ziad Atala to help him, there was a Muslim conquest of Sicily in 831, which took until 904 against fierce resistance. The Emirate of Sicily was established. Muslim rule within the whole island lasted for about 120 years and was marked by cruelty and brutality against the native population, which was reduced into near slavery, as the story of Jafar al-Sakili demonstrates. Christian churches across the island were all completely destroyed, with not one remaining prior to the Muslim conquest. Palermo displaced Syracuse as the prime city of Sicily. It was said to have then begun to compete with Cordoba and Cairo in terms of importance and splendor. For more than 100 years Palermo was the capital of a flourishing emirate. The Arabs also introduced many agricultural items which remain a mainstay of Sicilian cuisine. After dynastic quarrels, however, there was a Christian reconquest in 1072. The family who returned the city to Christianity were called the Hautevilles, including Robert Guiscard and his army, who is regarded as a hero by the natives. It was under Roger II of Sicily that Norman holdings in Sicily and the southern part of the Italian peninsula were promoted from the county of Sicily into the Kingdom of Sicily. The kingdom was ruled from Palermo as its capital, with the king's court held at Palazzo dei Normanni. Much construction was undertaken during this period, such as the building of the Palermo Cathedral. The Kingdom of Sicily became one of the wealthiest states in Europe, as wealthy as the fellow Norman state, the Kingdom of England. Sicily, in 1194, fell under the control of the Holy Roman Empire. Palermo was the preferred city of the Emperor Frederick II. Muslims of Palermo emigrated and were expelled during Holy Roman rule. After an interval of Angevin rule, Sicily came under control of Aragon and Barcelona dynasty. By 1330, Palermo's population had declined to 51,000. From 1479, it was ruled by the Kingdom of Spain until 1713, and between 1717 and 1718, Palermo was also managed by Savoy between 1713 and 1717 and 1718 to 1720 as a result of the Treaty of Utrecht, and by Austria between 1720 and 1734. Two Sicilies after the Treaty of Utrecht, Sicily was handed over to the Savoia, but by 1734 it was again a Bourbon possession. Charles III chose Palermo for his coronation as King of Sicily. Charles had new houses built for the increased population, while trade and industry grew as well. However, Palermo was now just another provincial city as the royal court resided in Naples. Charles's son Ferdinand, though disliked by the population, took refuge in Palermo after the French Revolution in 1798. His son Alberto died on the way to Palermo and is buried in the city. When the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies was founded, the capital was Palermo, but a year later was moved in Naples. From 1820 to 1848 all Sicily was shaken by upheavals, which culminated on January 12, 1848, with a popular insurrection, the first one in Europe that year, led by Giuseppe La Massa. A parliament and constitution were proclaimed. The first president was Ruggero Settimo. The Bourbons soon reconquered Palermo, which remained under their rule until the appearance of Giuseppe Garibaldi. This famous general entered Palermo with his troops on May 27, 1860. After the plebiscite later that year, Palermo and the whole of Sicily became part of the new Kingdom of Italy. Italian unification, and today from that year onwards, Palermo followed the history of Italy as the administrative center of Sicily. The majority of Sicilians preferred independence to the new Savoy kingdom. In 1866, Palermo became the seat of a week-long popular rebellion, which was finally crushed after martial law was declared. The Italian government blamed anarchists and the church, specifically the Archbishop of Palermo, for the rebellion and began enacting anti-Sicilian and anti-clerical policies. A new cultural, economic and industrial growth was spurred by more families, like the Florio, the De Crot, the Rutelli, the Sandrant, the Whitaker, the Utiveggio, and others. In the early 20th century, Palermo expanded outside the old city walls, mostly to the north along the new boulevards, the Via Roma, Via Dante, Via Notte Bartolo, and Viale della Libertà. These roads would soon boast a huge number of villas in the Art Nouveau style, or Style Liberty as it is known in Italy. Many of these were designed by the famous architect Ernesto Basile. The Grand Hotel Villa Igiea, designed by Ernesto Basile for the Florio family, is a good example of Palermitan Liberty style. The very large Teatro Massimo was designed in the same period by Giovabattista Filippo Basile, and built by the Rutelli and Macci building firm of the industrial and old Rutelli Italian family in Palermo, and was opened in 1897. During the Second World War, Palermo was untouched until the Allies began to advance up Italy after the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943. In July, the harbour and the surrounding quarters were heavily bombed by the Allied forces and were all but destroyed. 6 decades later, the city centre has still not been fully rebuilt, and hollow walls and devastated buildings can still be found. In 1946, the city was declared the seat of the regional parliament, as capital of a special status region whose seat is in the Palazzo dei Normanni. Palermo's future seemed to look bright again. Many opportunities were lost in the coming decades, owing to incompetence, incapacity, corruption and abuse of power. A theme in the city's modern age has been the struggle against the mafia, red brigades and outlaws such as Salvatore Giuliano, who controlled a neighboring area of Montelepa. The Italian state had to share effective control of the territory, economically and administratively, with the mafia families. The so-called sack of Palermo is one of the major visible faces of this problem. The term is used today to indicate the heavy building speculations that fill the city with poor buildings. The reduced importance of agriculture in the Sicilian economy had led to a massive migration to the cities, especially Palermo, which swelled in size. Instead of rebuilding the city centre, the town was thrown into a frantic expansion towards the north, where practically a new town was built. The regulatory plan for the expansion was largely ignored. New parts of town appeared almost out of nowhere, but without parks, schools, public buildings, proper roads and the other amenities that characterize a modern city. The mafia played a huge role in this process, which was an important element in the mafia's transition from a mostly rural phenomenon into a modern criminal organization. The mafia took advantage of corrupt city officials and protection coming from the Italian central government itself. Many civil servants lost their lives in the struggle against the criminal organizations of Palermo and Sicily. These include the Carabinieri General Carlo Alberto Dalla Chiesa, the region's president Piersanti Mattarella, Padre Pino Puglisi, a priest who had fought for the young people living in the suburbs, and courageous magistrates such as Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. Palermo is connected to the mainland by an international airport and an increasing number of maritime links. However, land connections remain poor. This and other reasons have until now thwarted the development of tourism. This has been identified as the main resource to exploit for the city's recovery, the legacy of 3 millennia of history and folklore. Geography. Administration shown above are the 35 quarters of Palermo. These 35 neighborhoods, or quartier, as they are known, are further divided into 8 governmental community boards. Climate. Palermo experiences a hot summer Mediterranean climate. Winters are mild and wet, while summers are hot and dry. Palermo is one of the warmest cities in Europe, with an average annual ambient air temperature of 18.5 degrees Celsius. It receives approximately 2,530 hours of sunshine per year. Snow is rare but not impossible. From the late 1940s and the early 2000s it snowed 8 times. More often snow stopped on the edge of the city. The average annual temperature of the sea is above 19 degrees Celsius, from 14 degrees Celsius in February to 26 degrees Celsius in August. In the period from May to November, the average sea temperature exceeds 18 degrees Celsius, and in the period from June to October, the average sea temperature exceeds 21 degrees Celsius.